Dr. Mathur, you were referring to renewables. Renewables and the talk of using consumer products with renewable energy like solar cookers or solar water heater, and now industrial usage through solar plants and wind power. It's been there for maybe 30 years, but it's still not mainstream. What next?
I think we are on the cusp of mainstreaming solar energy on our rooftops. Let me give you an example. This building where TERI has its offices, the India Habitat Center, we put up solar plants on our rooftop. Now, this institution consists of 23 organizations, and while we individually could not purchase the solar rooftop systems, what we did was got a third party who bought the solar systems and installed them. And they sell us the electricity. And we pay them at the rate of 5 rupees 50 paisa per kilowatt hour. Now what we pay NDMC on the other hand is 7 rupees 20 paisa. What it tells you is that this makes economic sense even today.
But there are still situations, and I'm sure you're aware of it, that there have been situations where state electricity boards, when they have downtime or lower demand, ask the renewable energy producers to back down and take the fossil fuel based power because they see it as cheaper, while it should really be the other way around. We still don't have that ecosystem which will proactively encourage the use of renewables, especially at the grid level.
You're absolutely correct. There is no doubt that in today's system, we have a problem in ensuring that all the renewable electricity that is produced is actually taken up by the system. This problem will become worse in the years to come because electricity boards will be faced with a situation where when the sun is not shining, when the wind is not blowing, people like you and me still need electricity. And therefore the question will be, where will this come from? Consequently, what we need to focus on, what TERI is working on, are policies and regulations that enable the grid to first take renewable energy, to also invest in storage, so that when this renewables is not available, the stored electricity, whether it is through batteries or possibly in the near term more from pumped hydro, can come in and meet our demand. But it does mean that the way we operate the grid changes. And those are issues that I think over a period of time will have to be brought into the DNA of how a grid system is managed.
And here I think you'll have to have a much deeper and hopefully a constructive engagement with state governments, because really a lot of this change lies at their level as well.
Well, the challenge today of the electricity sector is at the state level. We are in a situation today where the total amount of electricity that is available, which is generated and available, is far more than what is bought. But state distribution companies often do not buy because they feel that every extra kilowatt hour of electricity that they buy, they make more loss on it. This is an issue that will need to be addressed by looking at how tariffs are developed at a state level.
That's a good point. But let me switch track and talk about natural resources, another area where you have done a lot of work, and I think where the policy and the usage consumption ecosystem is still pretty primitive. What is required today to make the mining sector, which is becoming more modern, and where the policy framework is allowing more of the private sector presence, what needs to be done to ensure that while the private sector increases its activities for the better of the country, it still works within a very regulated framework of responsible mining?
Pranjal, there are three separate things actually that needs to be done. The first is obviously efficiency in mining itself. The days when we could carve out huge caverns of coal and leave large pillars is gone. That's not possible. Consequently, mining regulations that promotes safe but efficient mining is the first part. The second is how do you ensure that the resources that are mined are converted into value-added products with the greatest amount of economic efficiency. There we are talking really about one, for example, steel making or aluminum making. How do you make sure that the plants are efficient? The Perform, Achieve and Trade regulatory system is one way of doing it. The Department of Mines is working on a methodology to create 1 to 5 star mines. That's another methodology. And the third part is resource efficiency or the circular economy. In other words, how does a copper company or a steel company create a business model that makes sense for it to pick up used material from the market and reuse it and provide you and I with products that are a mix of both used material as well as fresh material. So it's these three things together which will move us on a path towards greater resource use.
Do you think Indian industry is doing enough on these three fronts?
Indian industry is certainly doing quite a bit on the second front, which is on how you use the material that is produced and provide and make useful material out of it. On efficient mining, I think we are just starting to see it come into place. It will need a lot more effective outreach and regulation to make it happen. On the third part, which is the circular economy, not very much has happened, but that's an area where, again, I think this country needs to take the lead.
But is there something that TERI is doing to enhance and improve the atmosphere on these three fronts?
TERI has been at the forefront, again, of enhancing the production efficiencies. We are now working with a number of sectors, construction sector, automobile sector, steel sector, to see how the reuse efficiency can be increased. We are not yet focused on the mining part itself.